We are funded by the National Science Foundation to provide support to gateways and the community in several different ways. The first way is through providing support for building and running gateways, and we do that through a couple of types of consulting, one with hands-on development, as well as different areas such as cybersecurity, usability, and sustainability. We also provide a catalog of software and gateways that is meant to be a resource for people who are creating their gateway, both to get inspiration as well as to find out tools that they can build into their gateways. The second main area is through education and training, which includes things like this webinar series. We also offer a Gateway Focus Week, which you may have noticed on the previous slide. We're having a mini version called Jumpstart Your Sustainability Plan at the beginning of March, and you can register for that through February 24th. And then we have a number of student focus programs, including internships. We're always looking for internship sites, as well as students to participate in it, a hackathon, and a coding institute. And we also have resources on our website for people. And then finally, the community is a big part of who we are and why we have community in our name. Those different ways of bringing the community together include our annual conference, which is every fall, the community forum, which is a Google group. We have 2 programs that are for science ambassadors and gateway ambassadors, and an affiliates and partner program. And finally, you can go to our website to find out news about the community, blogs, and job postings. So my last request for you before I hand off to Sandra is that it is very helpful for us to get feedback from you about what was good and what you'd like to see change and new topics. We do actually look at that. And if you could take a moment, we'll put this link in the chat partway through this session. And we'd love to have you just take that quick survey, which asks for your feedback as well as any topics you would like to recommend. So with that, I will let Sandra get set up, and I'll just briefly introduce her. So Sandra Gesing is a member of our team, and she supports part of the community engagement activities as well as our incubator activities. And I'm just delighted to have her present today because she is going to share information about PresQT, which helps support data fairness, which she'll talk about in greater detail. So take it away, Sandra.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Yeah, as Catherine said, I'm amazing. I'm a member of the Science Gateway Institute. Today I have another hat on, the PresQT hat. And we'll talk about how to achieve fairness in your gateway. So first of all, I will go into more detail what kind of fairness I mean, because fairness, yeah, you could understand several things under that. And so the FAIR principles, the ones which were published in 2016. This is a paper, the FAIR Guiding Principles for Scientific Data Management and Stewardship. And it's about findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable data. And you have seen a lot of activities also before that already with open research, open science communities. And this really kicked off another level of looking into what are really guiding principles. And PresQT uses a FAIR evaluator, which is a collaboration with FAIRsharing. And I will go into more detail for this. And so who talks about FAIR? So a lot of scientists and scholars, funders, publishers, and probably each of you have also heard already about FAIR. So all over the world, people are getting together and thinking about how can we do really more, turn FAIR into reality. And this got a little bit not so nice format. I don't know what happens there, but you can see all the different activities or the logos of different groups who are working on it. And it's especially the RDA group I'm also involved with. It's looking in maturity indicators, what does FAIR really mean? And I work closely also with different group in Australia with the Australian Research Data Commons. So these are groups where you can have a look what what they're doing in regard to FAIR. And this information you can see here is also under FAIRshare from Australian publication. And so people are looking also, so there's a paper that was published last year, really in FAIR principles for research software. So science gateways are part of research software. And there is a debate, what are really FAIR principles? Can we use the same for data as we can use for software? And so the discussion in this paper is really interesting. And there is this RDA working group, FAIR for research software, that looks into more and really to agree on FAIR research software for the future. So if we look at the current landscape, so really bridging the gap for data and software sharing, sharing is a big part of really getting your gateway, your data FAIR. And so the researchers the researcher looks very desperate on this picture, and we want to change that, of course. So they have a couple of challenges, of course, that they have their working environment, they have maybe tools, computational tools they're using gateways. So how can they get really or fill the gap? And part is to use a science gateway, for example, but it doesn't solve everything. It doesn't solve maybe the preservation. So there are different stages of reusability and interoperability, which we like to solve. So the libraries, for example, have the perspective that they want to do data curation and software curation, but often it happens with projects retroactively. And so it's not everything is captured. There might be not enough metadata. And at the beginning, when we looked really at the landscape with the project PresQT, we discovered this little life cycle of research projects. So there's a new project, you get the funding, and then people select or develop tools, and they assemble the data and create data and write the reports. And then often there comes the preservation of the data, because maybe the funding body wants it, or because they really also want it themselves. But if you do it after a 3, 4, 5 year period, it's a little bit late to capture everything, also the intermediate steps. And then the funding ends, and it's really work intensive and too late in the life cycle to think about preservation of data and software. So if you assure the quality of data already at the beginning, when you select tools and when you create data, then it's much easier to preserve the data and software idly, when it's an easy step then in the life cycle. So, and there are also pressures from the outside on academia, with, for example, from the White House, the OSTP, that they really want that the scientific results are available. And I think a lot of us want to share it also. I mean, it's, the open science, the open research community is growing, and people would like to, after they published, of course, often it's also part of the process. You want to publish your results, and then you can openly share a lot of things. So if you look at this research data management archipelago, it looks very idyllic, but there are a lot of water between the different solutions. And so there are really mature solutions in the landscape, like different science gateways, different preservation systems. And the goal of PresQT is to connect them, to create this interoperability, connectivity, that solutions can work with each other. So PresQT is an implementation grant. It was after a previous planning grant, and it's really to collaboratively design, develop, and connect interoperable and repository agnostic data and software, and increase the quality for preservation and for sharing. So acknowledgements, we are a big consortium. So that was the idea, that it's really a collaborative project. So we are working together with the Sheridan libraries, with national data service with the UC San Diego library, the HubZero team, Yale University. These are funded sub-bodies, but also across the landscape with testing and collaborators who said that they would like to see the solution. And you can see the diversity of groups there. And we had a couple of workshops with different partners, for example, with Data Futures on preserving annotation, or SDSC, with SciGraph, or with solutions for SciGraph for keyword enhancements, and Mark Wilkinson with the FAIR evaluation service, and Daniel Clark and Avi Mayan for FAIRshaake and the assessment rubrics and FAIRshaake. And the focus today will be more on FAIR. So if you look at this collaborative effort, so we started with a planning grant with surveys and with a tool design. And now we are really at the end of the grant, and we are working together with developers. If you look at this nice little, community, spreading out the extended community, that is at the moment our goal, to get more of the extended community also more interested in PresQT. And with the design of really the tools and the services, we looked especially also at usability and whether there could be an uptake. And we had a lot of answers via the surveys, what people would like to use and what kind of, would increase the quality for them of sharing data and preserving data. So, and this is from a unified theory of acceptance and use of technology. So we ask ourselves these questions. So when the user sees it, these are the questions the user looks at technology. Will it help my job performance? It is useful. Is it better than the old way? Then you look at easy to use, easy to learn, time consuming, efficient. So that goes really in the direction where we said the tools and services, people would like to stay probably as best as they can in the old way, but still that it's efficient and that it gives them a useful addition. Then, the third block is about, can I do this? Do I have knowledge? Do I get support, resources? And does it fit with my work style? So the decision was here that we are boilerplate in the middle and that we are not creating new tools for the user in a way that they have to learn something new, but that it's really something that can be put in the middle between different systems. So the concept was not to have standalone solutions, but that we can connect partner systems and services easily via RESTful APIs and services. And it was a user-centered open design and collaborative development. So if we look at the users, and these can be researchers, these can be librarians, these can be other stakeholders, also publishers. So they use, for example, repositories, and you probably have heard of all of them. This is GitLab, GitHub, Figshare, CurateND. You might not heard of it if you're not at Notre, but that is our campus-wide repository. And Zenodo. So a lot of users who work already with preserving their software or their data or publications are using these systems. Then there are science gateways. So you might have heard about HubZero and OSF or Hotel. So these are also partners in the PresQT ecosystem. And they offer not only data, but HubZero, for example, offers also simulation and tools and different structures. OSF offers, for example, to build projects. Hotel is built on OSF, and it offers to run simulations to the data. So, and then there are services we had to look at. The SciGraph is a service we use for keyword enhancement. FAIRsharing.org and FAIRshaake are the services we are using for testing. fairness of data or the maturity indicators for fairness. And easy is a service also very interesting. So if you have, for example, all data, let's say 20 years ago, and so you cannot open the file anymore because you don't have the software available that, which you used 20 years ago, or even sometimes, shorter, to open this file. So easy is an emulation service, and you can send a file there or ask them whether they support already maybe this format, and they open it for you. And they have emulation services running so that they check whether they can open it. And then you can see it and save it in a different format, and in a format that you can also then use on your laptop or in your working environment. So these are all the services and systems and platforms PresQT is working with. So if you look how to connect these different systems, for example, without having someone in the middle, OSF is a good example. It has already a lot of capabilities. It has a connection to GitLab, to Zenodo, and Curate and the GitHub Fixture. So they can save or send files to other systems. Hotel is based on OSF, has similar capabilities. And also HubZero uses different connections to different systems. But you can see, and then HubZero starts to use also the different services. Let's say it would plan to use a keyword enhancement. It has to build all these connections itself. With PresQT in the middle, all the systems can then connect to PresQT services, and it can connect every system with the other one, so that it's really for the target system. Let's say HubZero goes to Zenodo. HubZero has only to know how it uses PresQT, and then it can not only use Zenodo, but also GitLab and GitHub and Fixture. And that is true for all the other things also. So the services offered via PresQT and the different repositories, and also the connection to different science gateways can be used always in a standardized way via REST API calls. So we have a couple of different set of services. So to really configure additional partner systems, you can use JSON and Python functions. So it's very flexible to add a system. And then it offers services, for example, to check fixity via hash algorithms. So fixity means, let's say you transfer something from HubZero to OSF. So it checks whether the hash is still the same when it arrives at HubZero or OSF, whether it still matches or something happened during the transfer. You can add metadata like keyword enhancement. So the enhanced keywords is also one. It's all added via JSON. It's transferred via a backend format. So if there's interest in different zip formats or something, we can also add different packages. So it can check available tools via easy. So that means if you send a file, an old file to PresQT, it will connect with the easy services and get back whether easy can open it, and that you can use it with the software with easy. And you can check fairness of research objects. So if we look, for example, only shortly in the PresQT keyword enhancement, how does that work with a transfer? So the transfer started, and here are the two systems, GitHub and OSF. So in the transfer, if the user selects it wants the keyword enhancement and enhance therefore the metadata, it sends the information it has from GitHub, and in GitHub it's called the tag. It sends this information to SciGraph. SciGraph looks whether there's a given keywords tags, it can create more. in an ontology, gives it back, and then the additional ones won't be only added in OSF, because that is a transfer from GitHub to OSF, but will be also added in GitHub. And to make it a little bit clearer, you can see here, so GitHub gives already SciGraph, cat, dog, and egg. So now SciGraph finds additional one, like feline, canine, scrambled. So it adds for these further final keywords states to GitHub, but also to OSF, and recognizes, so PresQT also recognizes whether there was already a keyword or several keywords. And of course, in OSF, they will further exist if it was an existing document. And you have, the collection of all the keywords possible from GitHub and from OSF on OSF side. So these are the current integrations we have. So you see the different targets, so OSF, CurateND, GitHub, Zenodo, GitLab, and Figshare. And Hotel and HubZero are at the moment work in progress, but that will come in the next couple of weeks. And you can see it can do a collection, it can search for data. It can look at details of data, download from a target or upload data there. It can transfer between targets. So here's the list of which different systems can be connected with each other. So transfer in and transfer out means, for example, OSF, you can transfer in from GitHub, Create, Zenodo, GitLab, and Figshare. Out, you can also transfer to these, but not for CurateND at the moment. What kind of hash is support? You can improve the keywords, and you can also upload keywords. We rely in PresQT on that there's an API or another way to give back keywords which are uploaded then into the system under the user, of course.
Sandra, we had a couple questions come in.
Oh, okay.
I think one of them, well, two of them are related from Amit Charasia. He asks, where does the SciGraph service run? And is the file sent to SciGraph service, or is it processed locally? Natalie responded that SciGraph runs at SDSC, but maybe you have additional information about that.
Yes, so logic we are using at the moment, we haven't set up any of the services we are working with locally. So we are offering, that is the idea. It's easy to integrate with us if you offer a service. And we expect, then that we can reach the endpoint as a RESTful API. And we check whether the connection is there, or we give back if someone, for example, let's say SciGraph would be down. We would give back the information, oh, SciGraph is at the moment down. So because we cannot really take the responsibility for all the different services we integrate. So the same is also for the FAIR tests. That means the FAIR test is running under FAIRsharing.org, the ones we are working with, and FAIRShake.cloud. So responsibility is each of the services. That means, of course, that we are also dependent on that these services are further existing and are maintained. So the goal is here, if something goes, away or it is moved, that we have a health checker, which looks whether it's still working, services which are collaborating with us, and that we can maybe also integrate further for keyword enhancement. Maybe we can integrate further services if SciGraph has maybe, a down period or something. But yes, we are not, so that it was a discussion at the beginning whether we want to offer everything also on our server. And we decided not to do that. So maybe I have a look at more questions before I go further.
No, that was those were the two that went together, and Amit says that he said thanks. So I guess you answered the question well. Thank you.
Okay.
So you can carry on.
So if we look at the FAIR principles, so and at the moment, I think it's still, FAIR principles are really suggestions what to do, and I will go into more detail with the demo I will do. So it looks, for example, whether there's an URL, if a solution has metadata. And so the discussion was, what are really FAIR principles for science gateways? And this is the current approach, but it's open for discussion. It's a really open research project. We are happy to get feedback, and we are happy to point you also at the end of the talk to where you can do some testing, QA testing. I will demo it also. So at the moment, we have identified two things for science gateways. One is testing of fairness of source code. So we do these maturity indicator tests via source code and repositories. So for example, if you have source code in GitHub, and I will show it in a moment, you get something that, but yeah, you can add yourself information, but some information you might not be able to add in GitHub because GitHub structure doesn't allow for it, because that was not the goal to offer all the indicator tests. We go through them. The other idea is, how can you say that a science gateway is really fair? That is, most of the people work with science gateway, they have simulation tools, or they have data in there, they have publications in there. So the fairness can be also tested if you give access really to some of, when the users want to publish it or give open access to test really these tools and data objects. So you can test in a science gateway whether there is this fairness of data in the science gateway. So these are the two different aspects of checking fairness of science gateways. And we are very open to, because it's an open discussion also in the research software engineer community and RDA, how to really measure fairness of research software. And I think science gateway are especially also a specific topic, because science gateways are made to provide content, to provide sharing possibilities. So what is a good way really to measure that? And now I would like to switch to a demo. And I know I talked, yeah, it's not ending the slideshow. My computer doesn't want to end the slideshow. Okay, good. Okay. So as explanation, we still increase the usability a lot. So the idea was, as I said at the beginning, that we are not delivering a user interface, that we really, that users can stay in their working environment, that they can really have something like an additional button, something like additional features in their normal working environment. So some users now, especially at the beginning, also developers, it was good to show them what PresQT can do. And we realized that this user interface also got really between the partners like this user interface also for really performing actions. So at the moment, you can see the available connections here. That is OSF, Curate ND, GitHub, Zenodo, GitLab, and Figshare. So if you would like to do then something here, you have more information here, for example, about the project. You have documentation. I will show also some more documentation. You can submit feedback. We are always happy to get feedback. And the Baggett tool helps with uploading data, for example. So if you click on one of these, so that is at the moment, and still, because we never put effort into having our own authentication system. The idea was we are connecting systems with each other, or we using the authentication because we are not coming, we want users to use the existing environment. It means if they want to add something in OSF, or they want to work with something in Zenodo, of course, they want to have their environment and their authentication and authorization, what they can do there. So we are working with the API tokens of each of our partner systems. So, and we put a little bit of help in how to create a token. And if something is now with the demo not working, I have also videos, so I'm prepared just in case it doesn't create everything I expect it to. So I create a token. Oh, yeah, of course. I create this token, the demo API webinar. And then I copy it. And I can insert it here. And now it looks through also OSF sources and shows what I have in OSF available. So that is exactly what I would also see in OSF for myself. And you see like little buttons there that it's OSF storage or Google Drive. For example, for this one, we are using OSF storage, but we have the version also in Google Drive, and OSF connects them in the background with each other, but it's the same file. For us, it's the same file. So if you look here, there's a download and upload and transfer out button. So I could transfer it to for example, as I said, like to GitHub or to Zenodo. But we are interested for today in the services. And here is easy, the keyword enhancement and FAIRshare. So if you click on FAIRshare and perform it, it gives, so these are the identifiers which were created by an RDA FAIR working group. It's available under FAIRsharing, it's that service. And it tests for different options here. So that is, so unique identifier, like a metadata that has a unique identifier. We could go through more. I select them all. And since we don't know how long this test could take, because it's a third-party service, we could put in, for example, an email address that if it's finished, that the results are sent, and I just press now evaluate. So it will start to evaluate. And only as long as we are waiting on this, I can show you a little bit more. Get this out of the way. Why is this not going out of the way? Great. Let me do this. So this is the service we are using at the moment. It's a FAIR sharing service. And you can see here that there are different indicators. And this you really can understand as something that are called maturity indicators. A working group agreed on that this would be helpful to have it available. But these are suggestions. If you, for example, think for your science gateway, oh, I don't need this persistence, or I don't need structured metadata. That is not something that helps for the fairness of what I'm doing in my science gateway. You can also leave these tests out, and you can see here are different sorts of tests for the different stages. And the F is for findable. Then you see the acronym. You can find the acronym in the tests again. And what kind of tests are suggested by this working group and by the service. So if we are going now back, so this is the result. I hope you can see it well. So you get the evaluation result, and the green means, yeah, it was successful. Red means it was not successful, but doesn't mean always that it's a bad sign, but that it's maybe by design meant that this is not yet fulfilled. Or it's just a suggestion to say, yeah, you could do these FAIR testing. So, and you can get more explanation here. So, for example, it found a DOI for this resource, for this data object. Fantastic. So it's green. So it found also a DOI for the metadata, and it's known as persistence. It has structured metadata. It found key value style structured metadata, grounded metadata. So the meaning of all these things can be really found then in the help text of the services we are using. So we were a little bit in between to give all the text. But I think when people get a little bit into the services and see what they're asking for, so we can adapt also which tests should be performed. So we made a selection of tests where we thought that these make really sense. And you see a couple of that were not so successful. So there was, for example, no metadata identified in the metadata record. So maybe, yeah, that is not what, that OSF wanted to build in. That is maybe something we didn't add as a user. So the metadata record couldn't be found by Bing and using any method. So these are things really the FAIR sharing service is offering. But you can see here, for example, it found a free protocol for metadata retrieval. So, and going through all these topics, this is something, or the metadata includes a license, which is interesting often, especially for software. So that it's clear for the user how to use this data object or the software. And this is a service, but you can use it also not only as a service when you are in OSF, but you can use it also so while you are transferring data. And if I want to transfer something, for example, from OSF to GitHub, I select GitHub for a moment because I need to have also an API token in GitHub then, because I transfer something from my user in OSF to my user in GitHub. And I say, I want to generate a new token.
Sandra, while you do that, there are a couple questions that have popped up, and I'm not sure if they're good to ask now or save for later.
Maybe I've shown the main feature with FAIR. I mean, our transfer service is also very cool, but I think the topic today was more FAIR, so I'm happy to maybe jump first to the question. So,
oh, great. Okay. So, all right. So the first question was, how does one check fairness of private data, which is the case on gateways?
So you can check the private data because, so let's say it like this, it won't have a positive test, of course, for a DOI or something if it's not, findable from the outside. But if you want to have maybe other tests, like whether it's interoperable, whether the metadata is okay, it goes through the test, it gives you back, oh, you don't have a really unique identifier you can find from the outside, or, which is, but you have good metadata. So the tests are independent from each other. So you can have, if you want to keep it private, you just disregard the tests which are looking into accessible or findable category. You look for the interoperable or the metadata. How is the quality of your metadata?
That makes sense. Great. And then the next question from Rajesh is, would the evaluation follow links to other related resources, for example, in JSON-LD?
So yeah.
Make sense? Okay.
Yeah. So we are working with JSON-LD. So we are looking in metadata that is also stored like that. And the tests, which are at the moment, we are using standard tests from FAIRsharing.org, those maturity indicators. And we are also using at the moment really the rubrics, the standard rubrics of FAIRShake. But it's quite easy to create your own ones, or let's say quite easy. Of course, it takes work, but I can show, for example, rubrics which are here in FAIRShake Cloud, and it shows you can create your own FAIRShake tool rubric, and if you want to use JSON-LD for something or have a special rubric, you can create it yourself and test it with FAIRShake. You can do the same also under FAIRsharing.org and create your own adapted tests. They have already also, I think I have, I didn't know that is. So if you look at these FAIR evaluation service, they have also different, oh God. Okay, if it takes now 50 minutes, what I can say, so there are different already data sets, for example, that are integrated. You can become someone who's creating new sets there. You can contribute openly there, if that's of interest. Does that answer your question?
Well, we'll see if Rajesh replies that it is. There is another question also that came up. He said, got it. Yep. Another question from Amit. How critical is the resolvability of PIDs for fairness? In other words, can one assign self-generated PIDs?
So I think that is dependent on your own philosophy. I think, therefore, I try to emphasize that it's really, these are suggestions. I think what makes for your system sense, and if it's like you have your own PIDs, then that's okay. I think it's not that FAIR testing should be like, oh, you have to do it exactly this way. We are not at that stage. I think we have to have a lot of more discussions to say whether something has to be that way or whether it's something. I think it gives only a hint. If you have your own PID and the test says, okay, this was not successful, and you just say, oh, yes, that is by design, then that's still fair. I think this is only really an indicator to help what could be aspects, but the aspects for your project might be totally different.
Great. That is all the questions that have come in so far. Okay. Natalie's been putting some extra notes and links and so forth in chat as well.
Yeah, I have a couple of links and everything also at the end of the presentation. Maybe I jumped to the end of the presentation because
we still have 15 minutes, but or 10-ish anyway. And we'll grab all those links too that she shared and put them on the website when we post the recording and slides.
Yeah, but I wanted to give people also a chance for discussion and everything. So you get.
Oh, well, in that case, definitely.
So let me jump back to. So yeah, we did the little demo.
And if you run out of things to talk about for discussion, Mona has said she would like to see the transfer if you have time. So you do have.
I'm happy to show the transfer. I'm really happy about our transfer. So if there's time, let me just do one thing. So that was the little demo, and that was just in case I cannot show it, but this shows, for example, a transfer with keyword enhancement and with FAIR testing. So I'm happy to show that. So yeah, I wanted to acknowledge colleagues of mine. So the co-PIs, John Wang, Natalie is on the call, Rick Johnson, the CSC developers, Noel, Brad, and Justin, and also from the Hesberg libraries, our project managers and developers, and also the partners and collaborators I mentioned above. And so my goal was to say here a little bit, you can contact us. Under PresQT Read the Docs latest, you will find our documentation. And here is the UI I've shown, which is a UI for demonstrations. We are writing on proposals at the moment to get to the next stage of the project. So, but we are happy to get some feedback on testing, get some feedback also what kind of services you would like to see in a sharing or preservation environment. So you got the first impression, we have the keyword enhancement with SciGraph, we connect to easy, we have FAIR tools, we can transfer, upload, download. So, and if there's any questions, that is now the chance, and otherwise I'm happy to show the transfer.
Okay, we got a second vote for the transfer demo, but we also have a request for a link to the evaluation rubrics page that you were showing, and I imagine probably Natalie can grab that and put it in because she's so fast.
I'm sure. Yeah, thank you, Natalie. So all the things I mentioned, you can find also in our documentation. Maybe I show the documentation for a moment, only because, yes. So that is our documentation. You can find all the systems, everything I talked about here. We have a QA testing rubric where we would be happy if you use that to go through the different testing when you have time and give us feedback. We have demo videos. So the demo videos I would have opened if something would have been with a system that I cannot demo. So there are really nice demo videos. And one are via the user interface, but if you are interested as a developer also, we have demo videos that you can see how to integrate, how it looks to integrate with a target and how the developer view looks, really with the API and the services. So we have that all, and then I go now back. Not sure whether I got no, I didn't get the token yet. So that is my demo SGCI token. And I wanted all, so I selected all, just not to run into a problem with anything I want to do. You probably don't need to do that for your token, it dependent on what you want to do. So it generates the token. And I copy it.
And while you're doing that, here's another question that's come up from Rajesh. He says, this is a more HubZero specific question. Can the transfer tool / service be adapted to transfer resources from a certain hub to the institutional repository, such as PURR?
So I don't know which technology you have behind your repository, but if it's something like Fedora, so we can work already with one Fedora client. So that would be not, hopefully not much adoption, dependent on version numbers. But otherwise, yes, with HubZero, one of the goals is to be able to transfer out resources. So for example, to Zenodo would work quite easily, or to GitHub. And the other thing HubZero is working at the moment is on keyword enhancement and FAIR testing, that you can do it for resources in HubZero.
Okay, yeah, he says that actually this would be from one hub zero hub to another hub zero hub. So I guess it sounds like you should be able to transfer between them, or no?
No, but what we so to go to another hub zero hub would mean that that hub zero allows PresQT to upload content into hub zero, and we are not, or it's not allowed at the moment. This option is not open at the moment. It's the download is open, but not the upload into hub zero.
Okay,
So that is
he
also
says, got it.
okay.
Yeah, and then another question came in. What kind of resiliency does the transfer tool have behind the hood? What tools are being used for that?
The transfer tool really is developed by us. So that means it's all in Python services, RESTful API, using APIs of the target systems. And yeah, bringing that back. Does that answer the question?
Well, part of the question was also about resiliency. Like how much resiliency does it have? I don't know if that answers that question because I don't know entirely what resiliency means. But Natalie did just publish, put a link to the architecture of the PresQT service.
So the architecture is open. So it's also everything is available as open source. We will maintain the services. The plan is at the moment for the next 18 months. We hope to have a new project with new features and services, funding for it, but we will maintain it for 18 months. Does that answer the question?
Well, I wonder, so is resilience referring to, oh yeah, he said resuming download. So like if it gets interrupted, is it set up to, bounce back?
Yeah. So yeah, it checks whether it can connect to systems. If it takes longer, so it will be repeated. I think we put in, I don't want to say a wrong number. We discussed different numbers, how often to try. I think the last number, it was something between 5 to 10 times, and then to send an error message that it was not possible, that the user has to activate it again. So if it gets interrupted, it will start again.
Okay, that sounds like that would answer that. Mona asked if you have any plans to add Globus as a transfer mechanism.
Yes, we wrote a proposal, and we hope that it goes through. But how it is with proposals, we don't know yet. So yeah, Globus is one of our systems we added to the landscape. Yes.
Super. And then also, do you know what is the largest file that has been successfully transferred with the tool?
I know that we tried large projects and ran first in problems with it, that it needed was spinning a long time. So we solved that problem. I don't know the largest file. We did transfer large video files. But maybe, Natalie, do you know whether we had a specific kind number with the video files? I know we tried large video files.
Yeah, I don't know the exact size of our largest file, but I can find that out. What we did do was not only test transfer of single large files, but also transfer of directories with many little files that add up to a big transfer as a container. So we have a little bit of documentation and experience around how PresQT handles that. As those on the call are familiar, transferring a large bag full of many little things is sometimes more difficult to do fixity on at the other end than transferring a single large file as a file. So we've tackled it from both directions, and I'll see if I can find out the largest file we've transferred, because that'd be good to put in our final report.
Yes, we will do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you, Natalie. Yeah, we had the different cases, and yeah, it's also a nice anecdote because we tried this, directory or project with a lot of little files, and our partner then in between thought the firewall, let's say the safeguard that we would spam the system. No, we really try to transfer files. So yeah, we got around that they don't think that we attack a system when we try to transfer these files. So just
one comment that just came in just from Amit also that sort of follows what Natalie just said was, I guess in your final report or somewhere, consider adding some metrics for posterity, such as the number of files, size of files, and so forth. That would be useful to others.
Yeah, we definitely can do that. Yes, and we can add it also in the documentation. So I think the documentation, if you have a look at it, it's quite exhaustive. It's really, the programmers did a great job to add a lot of details. There's a lot of screenshots. There's a lot of information for the third-party services also, and the demo videos and all this. So coming back, so I now I see all my GitHub resources here, for example. Now I select the PresQT UI, and I want to transfer it out. So I can transfer it, for example, to OSF. So I have to insert the token, and I think I still have it open here. And because I need now the OSF token to be able to access OSF and upload something. So now it tries to get in there, and it says, oh yeah, okay, I find all this. So I want to create a new project, and it asked me whether I want to ignore or update an existing project. So I want to ignore if it's already existing, because it might be I did already a test case with it. Now I can say, oh, during the transfer, what I described as a keyword enhancement, do you want to have this automatic enhancement? And only to show what would happen automatically, I can show the manual one. So this shows, for example, there was no keyword already in the resource in GitHub. So it cannot enhance it because it doesn't guess what we have at the moment. We can create more here that we say, okay, we could grab metadata, but at the moment, it's if there's no if there are no keywords, we are not enhancing them because the user didn't create keywords. So I would like, I mean, I've shown the fair share evaluation. Maybe we skip it for a moment because it takes a little bit longer. So maybe we skip it now. Then it says, okay, it explains, because systems are different. So we are transferring from GitHub to OSF. So it will transfer this resource to OSF as a new project. So it creates a new project. It will transfer service metadata. It will, there are no enhanced keywords because we couldn't find the topic. But it describes what it would do if we would have keywords. So GitHub does not provide checksums for files. So we cannot check fixity between the systems. And it will be stored by default in the OSF storage. OSF has access to different storages, but via the API, we can only directly use OSF storage to save it, to store it, but that's okay. Because then it's, so email opt-in means, again, whether I want an email, whether the transfer was good. And now it does the transfer. And it can take a little bit, you see. So
Since it's the top of the hour, I also want to make sure that I mention to everyone else that this is a monthly series, and I do have a slide telling you what next month's webinar is going to be, but I just want to let folks know that it's about simplifying cloud HPC integration for gateways, and it's being presented by Boyd Wilson from Cloudy Cluster. So this may also be interesting to a number of you who are on this call today. But I'll let Sandra finish up if it will do that. It's quickly enough, I guess.
Yeah, let's see. I might have selected maybe a big file.
A question also came in from Mona asking about the API key requirement. It says it looks like she said it looks like it'll ask for a key for each operation, or can it be configured to remember my last API key?
So it depends on the target system. That means at the moment we didn't put in the user interface that it will be remembered, but we could do something like that. PresQT doesn't check what kind of key you use. That means it's not for each operation. It really, as long as it works for the target system, let's say if GitHub, the token I created worked for a day, you can use it for a day. So the security check is not done by PresQT, but by the system where we are writing to or getting information from. So that
sounds like it was a good answer, Mona said. She said thanks.
So yeah, it's I'm sorry, it's I seem to have taken, it's uploading files to OSF. Yes, it's 57%. Takes a little bit. Sorry for keeping you.
It might take a while. I wonder if we should, I mean, folks are welcome to stay on and wait. Is there something you could describe about what happens after it ends?
So after it ends, it just says that it uploaded it, and I can see it under OSF that there's a PresQT UI that is created. Yeah, sorry for, I found it so exciting that I can use directly software to show that we, can move software around because we are.
That it works, yeah.
So
pretty awesome. Rajesh asks, are there plans to allow a choice between various keywords or metadata enhancers based on the domain? I think SDSC developed one specifically for geospatial data for their data discovery studio.
We are happy to integrate more enhancers. We definitely created the framework in a way that it's easy to add different keyword enhancers, different services. So if you are interested, we should talk and we should see, hopefully, because we are at the end of the project, how we can maybe get that integrated. And the other thing is also, since everything is open source, you could also install the service yourself on your campus with all the details and add the addition yourself. If you are interested to add the keyword enhancement, we can even help that you add it. Yeah. So everything is
terrific. That's pretty cool. Well, while this thing is contemplating, I'm going to thank you, Sandra, for sharing this. It's really pretty cool to see in action how PresQT works after hearing about it over the past years. And I think that this was really valuable for everyone. The fact that almost everyone is still on the call is a testament to that this was useful. So thank you very much for that. And
yeah. Thank you also, and only everyone who's interested. I'm happy. There is also a transfer movie, demo movie. You can have a look at if you go to. Let me see. Yeah, I'm sorry for the transfer. I should have selected a different one. So, but if you go to QA testing in the documentation under read the docs, there are demo videos, and you can try it there. But you can also if you go through QA testing, it runs you through if you have an account, for example, at GitHub and at OSF or at GitHub and Zenodo, you can transfer files back and forth. You can try it yourself with your own accounts.
So that's what the testing site is under
We
QA testing where you just were, or is that a different thing there? Like where it says click here to go to the testing site?
Yeah, you can, that
Oh,
is
cool.
UI. That is the UI, exactly. So everyone can use it, it's openly accessible. And we would be happy if you use it so much that it's overloaded. Do it. It would be a good problem to have.
Indeed. And I just want to remind everyone that we are going to grab all of these helpful URLs that Natalie has been posting in chat, and we'll include that when we post the recording and Sandra's slides online. So you don't have to worry about trying to find them again, because this is a terrific resource, all of these things that Natalie's been including. So that, I think we should probably say goodbye for now, and thank you all for joining us. I'm really glad that you were so interested in this topic, and we'll look forward to seeing you at a future webinar.